Welcome to Growth Mindset Success, where your journey to personal excellence begins. Here, we unlock powerful ideas and timeless wisdom from the world's most influential books on success, mindset, and motivation. In a fast-paced world, you need guidance that inspires and equips you to act, improve, and rise. That's what we deliver. No fluff, just value. Whether you're an entrepreneur, dreamer, or seeker of clarity and purpose, you're in the right place. So sit back, relax, and get ready to grow. If you find value, don't forget to subscribe for weekly book summaries that unlock your full potential. Let's dive in. So we got down on our hands and knees, and he said, "Observe that the relative height of the ball here is about the same as it would be on the fairway, the only difference being that you have about 5 or 6 inches of grass above the ball." Then he did an even more whimsical thing. "Notice the quality and character of this grass," he said. He pulled off a blade and handed it to me. "Chew it," he said. I chewed, and he asked, "Isn't that tender?" "Why, yes," I replied. "It certainly does seem to be tender grass." "Well," he continued, "an easy swing of your number 5 iron will cut through that grass almost like a knife." And then he gave me this sentence which I am going to remember as long as I live, and I hope you will also. "The rough is only mental." In other words, he continued, it is rough because you think it is. In your mind, you have decided that here is an obstacle which will cause you difficulty. The power to overcome this obstacle is in your mind. If you visualize yourself lifting that ball out of the rough, believing you can do it, your mind will transfer flexibility, rhythm, and power to your muscles, and you will handle that club in such a manner that the ball will rise right out of there in a beautiful shot. All you need to do is to keep your eye on that ball and tell yourself that you are going to lift it out of that grass with a lovely stroke. Let the stiffness and tension go out of you. Hit it with exhilaration and power. Remember, the rough is only mental. To this day, I remember the thrill, the sense of power and delight I had in the clean shot that dropped the ball to the edge of the green. That is a very great fact to remember in connection with difficult problems. The rough is only mental. Your obstacles are present all right. They are not fanciful, but they are not actually so difficult as they seem. Your mental attitude is the most important factor. Believe that Almighty God has put in you the power to lift yourself out of the rough by keeping your eye firmly fixed on the source of your power. Affirm to yourself that through this power you can do anything you have to do. Believe that this power is taking the tension out of you, that this power is flowing through you. Believe this, and a sense of victory will come. Now take another look at that obstacle that has been bothering you. You will find that it is not so formidable as you thought. Say to yourself, "The rough is only mental. I think victory, I get victory." Remember that formula. Write it on a piece of paper, put it in your wallet, stick it up on your mirror where you shave each morning, put it over the kitchen sink, put it on your dressing table and on your desk. Keep looking at it until its truth drives into the depths of your consciousness, until it permeates your whole mental attitude, until it becomes a positive obsession. "I can do all things through Christ, which strengtheneth me." What may seem to be a difficult proposition is, as I have pointed out, hard or easy in proportion to how we think about it. It may be said that 3 men vitally affected the thought processes of Americans: Emerson, Thoreau, and William James. Analyze the American mind even to this late date, and it is evident that the teachings of these 3 philosophers combine to create that particular genius of the American who is not defeated by obstacles, and who accomplishes impossibles with amazing efficiency. A fundamental doctrine of Emerson is that the human personality can be touched with divine power, and thus greatness can be released from it. William James pointed out that the greatest factor in any undertaking is one's belief about it. Thoreau told us that the secret of achievement is to hold a picture of a successful outcome in mind. Still another wise American was Thomas Jefferson, who, like Franklin, set for his guidance a series of rules. Franklin had 13 daily rules, Jefferson only 10. One of Jefferson's rules was this, and I think it is priceless: Always take hold of things by the smooth handle. That is, go at a job or at your difficulty by the use of a method that will encounter the least resistance. Resistance causes friction in mechanics. Therefore, it is necessary in mechanics to overcome or reduce friction. The negative attitude is a friction approach. That is why negativism develops such great resistance. The positive approach is the smooth handle technique. It is in harmony with the flow of the universe. It not only encounters less resistance, but actually stimulates assistance forces. It is remarkable how from early life until the end of your existence, the application of this philosophy will enable you to attain successful results in areas where otherwise you would be defeated. For example, a woman sent her 15-year-old son to us. She said she wanted him straightened out. It annoyed her to no end that her boy could never get over 70 in any of his studies. "This boy has a great mind potentially," she declared proudly. "How do you know he has a great mind?" I asked. "Because he is my son," she said. "I graduated from college magna cum laude." The boy came in very glumly, so I asked, "What's the matter, son?" "I don't know. My mother sent me to see you." "Well," I commented, "you don't seem to be burning with enthusiasm. Your mother says you get only 70s. "Yes," he said, "that's all I get. And that isn't the worst of it. I've even received less than that." "Do you think you have a good mind, son?" I asked. "My mother says I have." "I don't know. I think I'm awful dumb." "Dr. Peale," he said earnestly, "I study the stuff. At home, I read it over once and then close the book and try to remember it. I repeat this process about 3 times, and then I think that if 3 times does not get it into my head, how am I ever going to get it into my head? And then I go to school thinking, maybe I have it, and the teacher calls on me to say something, and I stand up and cannot remember a thing. Then examinations come along, and I sit there and just get hot and cold all over, and I cannot think of the answers. I do not know why," he continued. "I know that my mother was a great scholar. I guess I just have not got it in me." This negative thought pattern, combined with the inferiority feeling stimulated by his mother's attitude, was of course overwhelming him. He froze up in his mind. His mother had never told him to go to school and study for the wonder and glory of learning knowledge. She was not wise enough to encourage him to compete with himself rather than with others. And she was constantly insisting that he duplicate her success in scholarship. Little wonder that under this pressure he froze mentally. I gave him some suggestions that proved helpful. Before you read your lessons, pause a moment and pray in this manner. "Lord, I know I have a good mind and that I can get my work." Then get yourself relaxed and read the book without strain. Imagine you are reading a story. Do not read it twice unless you wish. Simply believe that you got it on the first reading. Visualize the material as soaking in and germinating. Then next morning, as you go to school, say to yourself, "I have a wonderful mother. She is very pretty and sweet, but she must have been an old bookworm to get those high marks. And who wants to be an old bookworm anyway? I do not want to become magna cum nothing. I only want to get through school creditably." In class, when the teacher calls on you, quickly pray before answering. Then believe the Lord will at that moment help your mind to deliver. When an examination is given, affirm in prayer that God is releasing your mind and that the right answers are given you. The boy followed these ideas, and what marks do you think he got the following semester? 90. I am sure that this boy, having discovered the amazing workability of the "I don't believe in defeat" philosophy, will employ the amazing power of positive thinking in all the affairs of his life. I could use so many illustrations of the manner in which men's lives have been revamped by these procedures that this book would grow to unwieldy size. Moreover, these are incidents and experiences out of everyday life that are in no way theoretical, but are entirely practical. My mail is literally filled with testimonials sent by people who, having heard or read accounts I have told of victorious life experiences, have felt moved to relate similar occurrences in their own lives. Such a letter came from a gentleman who tells about his father as follows. I know several people who have used the plan in this letter with amazing results. My father was a traveling salesman. One time he sold furniture, another time hardware. Sometimes it was leather goods. He changed his line every year. I would hear him telling Mother that this was his last trip in stationery or in bed lamps, or whatever it was he was selling at the moment. Next year, everything would be different. We would be on Easy Street. He had a chance to go with a firm that had a product that sold itself. It was always the same. My father never had a product that sold. He was always tense, always afraid of himself, always whistling in the dark. Then one day a fellow salesman gave Father a copy of a little 3-sentence prayer. He was told to repeat it just before calling on a customer. Father tried it, and the results were almost miraculous. He sold 85% of all calls made during the first week, and every week thereafter the results were wonderful. Some weeks the percentage ran as high as 95. And Father had 16 weeks in which he sold every customer called on. Father gave this prayer to several other salesmen, and in each case it brought astounding results. The prayer my father used is as follows: I believe I am always divinely guided. I believe I will always take the right turn of the road. I believe God will always make a way where there is no way. The head of a small firm who had a great many difficulties in establishing his business told me that he was immeasurably helped by a technique which he invented. He had trouble, he said, with the tendency to blow up a small difficulty into a seemingly insurmountable obstacle. He knew that he was approaching his problems with a defeatist attitude, and had common sense enough to realize that these obstacles were not so difficult as he made them appear to be. As he told the story, I wondered if he did not have that curious psychological difficulty known as the will to fail. He employed a device which reconditioned his mental attitude, and after a time had a noticeable effect on his business. He simply placed a large wire basket on his office desk. The following words were printed on a card and wired to this basket: With God, all things are possible. Whenever a problem came up which the old mechanism of defeat began to develop into a big difficulty, he threw the paper pertaining to it into the basket, marked with God, all things are possible, and let it rest there for a day or two. It is queer how each matter, when I took it out of that basket again, didn't seem difficult at all, he reported. In this act, he dramatized the mental attitude of putting the problem in God's hands. As a result, he received power to handle the problem normally and therefore successfully. As you finish this chapter, please say the following line aloud: I don't believe in defeat. Continue to affirm that until the idea dominates your subconscious attitudes. You do not need to be a victim of worry. Reduced to its simplest form, what is worry? It is simply an unhealthy and destructive mental habit. You were not born with the worry habit. You acquired it. And because you can change any habit and any acquired attitude, you can cast worry from your mind. Since aggressive, direct action is essential in the elimination process, there is just one proper time to begin an effective attack on worry, and that is now. So let us start breaking your worry habit at once. Why should we take the worry problem this seriously? The reason is clearly stated by Dr. Smiley Blanton, eminent psychiatrist. Anxiety is the great modern plague. A famous psychologist asserts that fear is the most disintegrating enemy of human personality, and a prominent physician declares that worry is the most subtle and destructive of all human diseases. Another physician tells us that thousands of people are ill because of dammed-up anxiety. These sufferers have been unable to expel their anxieties, which have turned inward on the personality, causing many forms of ill health. The destructive quality of worry is indicated by the fact that the word itself is derived from an old Anglo-Saxon word meaning to choke. If someone were to put his fingers around your throat and press hard, cutting off the flow of vital power, it would be a dramatic demonstration of what you do to yourself by long-held and habitual worry. We are told that worry is not infrequently a factor in arthritis. Physicians who have analyzed the causes of this prevalent disease assert that the following factors, at least some of them, are nearly always present in arthritic cases: financial disaster, frustration, tension, apprehension, loneliness, grief, long-held ill will, and habitual worry. A clinic staff is said to have made a study of 176 American executives of the average age of 44 years and discovered that one half had high blood pressure, heart disease, or ulcers. It was notable in every case of those thus afflicted that worry was a prominent factor. The worrier, so it seems, is not likely to live as long as the person who learns to overcome his worries. The Rotarian magazine carried an article entitled "How Long Can You Live?" The author says that the waistline is the measure of your lifeline. The article also declares that if you want to live long, observe the following rules. Keep calm, go to church, eliminate worry. A survey shows that church members live longer than non-church members. Married people, according to the article, live longer than single people. Perhaps this is because a married couple can divide the worry. When you are single, you have to do it all alone. A scientific expert on length of life made a study of some 450 people who lived to be 100 years of age. He found that these people lived long and contented lives for the following reasons. They kept busy, they used moderation in all things, they ate lightly and simply, they got a great deal of fun out of life, they were early to bed and early up, they were free from worry and fear, especially fear of death, and they had serene minds and faith in God. Haven't you often heard a person say, "I am almost sick with worry," and then add with a laugh, "But I guess worry never really makes you ill." But that is where he is wrong. Worry can make you ill. Dr. George W. Cryle, famous American surgeon, said, "We fear not only in our minds, but in our hearts, brains, and viscera, that whatever the cause of fear and worry, the effect can always be noted in the cells, tissues, and organs of the body." Dr. Stanley Cobb, neurologist, says that worry is intimately connected with the symptoms of rheumatoid arthritis. A doctor recently stated that there is an epidemic of fear and worry in this country. All doctors, he declared, are having cases of illness which are brought on directly by fear and aggravated by worry and a feeling of insecurity. But do not be discouraged, for you can overcome your worries. There is a remedy that will bring you sure relief. It can help you break the worry habit. And the first step to take in breaking it is simply to believe that you can. Whatever you believe you can do with God's help. Here then is a practical procedure which will help to eliminate abnormal worry from your experience. Practice emptying the mind daily. This should be done preferably before retiring at night to avoid the retention by the consciousness of worries while you sleep. During sleep, thoughts tend to sink more deeply into the subconscious. The last 5 minutes before going to sleep are of extraordinary importance, for in that brief period the mind is most receptive to suggestion. It tends to absorb the last ideas that are entertained in waking consciousness. This process of mind drainage is important in overcoming worry, for fear thoughts, unless drained off, can clog the mind and impede the flow of mental and spiritual power. But such thoughts can be emptied from the mind and will not accumulate if they are eliminated daily. To drain them, utilize a process of creative imagination. Conceive of yourself as actually emptying your mind of all anxiety and fear. Picture all worry thoughts as flowing out as you would let water flow from a basin by removing the stopper. Repeat the following affirmation during this visualization. With God's help, I am now emptying my mind of all anxiety, all fear, all sense of insecurity. Repeat this slowly 5 times, then add, I believe that my mind is now emptied of all anxiety, all fear, all sense of insecurity. Repeat that statement 5 times, meanwhile holding a mental picture of your mind as being emptied of these concepts. Then thank God for thus freeing you from fear. Then go to sleep. In starting the curative process, the foregoing method should be utilized in mid-morning and mid-afternoon as well as at bedtime. Go into some quiet place for 5 minutes for this purpose. Faithfully perform this process, and you will soon note beneficial results. The procedure may be further strengthened by imaginatively thinking of yourself as reaching into your mind and one by one removing your worries. A small child possesses an imaginative skill superior to that of adults. a child responds to the game of kissing away a hurt or throwing away a fear. This simple process works for the child because in his mind, he believes that that is actually the end of it. The dramatic act is a fact for him, and so it proves to be the end of the matter. Visualize your fears as being drained out of your mind, and the visualization will in due course be actualized. Imagination is a source of fear, but imagination may also be the cure of fear. Imagineering is the use of mental images to build factual results, and it is an astonishingly effective procedure. Imagination is not simply the use of fancy. The word imagination derives from the idea of imaging. That is to say, you form an image either of fear or of release from fear. What you imagine may ultimately become a fact if held mentally with sufficient faith. Therefore, hold an image of yourself as delivered from worry, and the drainage process will in time eliminate abnormal fear from your thoughts. However, it is not enough to empty the mind. For the mind. Conclusion. In The Power of Positive Thinking, Norman Vincent Peale demonstrates that faith, optimism, and constructive thought patterns can radically transform one's life. His lessons show that by believing in yourself, expecting the best, overcoming worry, and drawing strength from prayer and spiritual principles, you can unlock inner power and achieve peace, happiness, and success. The central message is simple yet profound. Change your thoughts, and you change your life. Positive thinking, rooted in faith, becomes the driving force for personal growth, resilience, and lasting fulfillment.